Good afternoon and welcome to the first official podcast for the Sports Corner. I'm Chris Fravel here with Kyle Harstead. How's it going, Kyle?
Oh, not too bad. How about you?
Nah, not too bad. I've been crazy the past couple of nights with March Madness and posting on the Sports Corner.
Yes.
By the way, if you'd like to check out some of our posts, our stories and things like that revolving around sports, doesn't just have to be college basketball, it can be just about anything, although right now we are very heavy in March Madness. You can go to the sportscorneronline.wordpress.com. You can see all of the action there as we're running down through March Madness, which will be our focal point well into April now. So, over the past couple of weeks, Kyle and I have been going down, just breaking down different teams, telling you what our thoughts are as far as their chances of making a run to the NCAA tournament. And right now what we're going to do is we're going to go down through and talk about each of those teams now that most of the postseason conference tournaments have ended, where we're just waiting on the Big Ten tournament and what's the other one? Is it just the Big Ten at this point?
I believe so.
Big Ten.
I think there's one.
No,
more.
Big Ten and SEC are still going on.
Sorry.
SEC is still going on.
That-
So we're just waiting on the Big Ten and SEC at this point. So what we're going to do is while we're waiting for those games to end, we're going to go down through and talk about the teams that we've already analyzed and tell you if our points of view have changed on these teams since the last time we talked about them. So the first article that I wrote for March Madness was the Gonzaga Bulldogs, and this one's going to be real short, sweet, to the point. The Bulldogs have fallen out of my contention for an at-large bid into the NCAA tournament.
You think they're out?
Yep, I think that they're out. I don't think that they get one. If they do, it would be by the grace of God, but I don't see it happen. Gonzaga just didn't play well enough down the stretch and definitely did not do well enough in their conference to earn a bid into the NCAA tournament.
There are a lot of teams that dropped off like that in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Bulldogs no different for me. They just didn't get it done this year. I thought they were overrated last year, though. And got a lot more credit than they really deserved. But this year, their true colors shone through, especially with the absence of Kelly Olynyk. He's gone. So a big piece of that team was missing and just kind of shone through and showed how vulnerable they actually are. I did the next article, too. This was before Kyle really hopped on to the March Madness thing. So It was the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, this is a team I do believe is going to get into the tournament in an at-large bid. They played against the Michigan Wolverines yesterday in a Big Ten semifinal game, and they lost last minute. Now, right now, Michigan's getting just pummeled by Michigan State, but I think that with Michigan being in the top 10 for the majority of the season and Ohio State being so close to them in the Big Ten semifinals, that's enough for this selection committee to look at them and go, you know what, Buckeyes are through. I would see them probably getting a lower seed, though. They'll end up probably getting a 9 or a 10 seed if I had to guess.
For Ohio State, they are a top 24 team or top 25 team, 24 actually, and they are in the Big Ten championship. No, they lost for the Big Ten championship. My bad.
Yeah.
But this is a weak Ohio State team compared to what we're used to seeing here. They lost to Penn State twice this season.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah.
Which is a pretty bad thing to do. But they do have wins like against Wisconsin, Iowa, not Michigan State. They lost Michigan State. They beat them when they were number 22 when Michigan State was on that skid. So
Right.
But they didn't play well at all this year in my opinion compared to years past. They're only 10-8 in the conference.
Yeah.
So you're right, low seed. I don't see them going too far in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, again, don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I agree with Kyle 100%. This is a much weaker Buckeye squad than we've seen over the past couple of years. So, again, like we were saying, low seed, but they will make it into the NCAA tournament just based off the fact that they did so well in the Big Ten end of the season tournament. Right. Now you got somebody for us here.
Yeah, I got UCLA, and when I looked at this team when I wrote my article, I honestly thought they were a top 20 team.
Mm-hmm.
They have since dropped out of the top 25, but I stand by what I said. And I think this team will go further than a lot of people realize. I think they're winning quietly. They have tough losses to, Washington State, Oregon State, Utah, but they just beat Arizona in the Pac-12 tournament.
You're right. So as far as making it into the tournament, they are in. Now it's just a matter of how well are they going to do.
And I said before, I think they're a Sweet 16 team.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they could make an Elite 8 run. At this point, I don't believe so. I think Sweet 16 is probably their peak if they go that far.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Although, you got to be careful with UCLA Bruins because I feel like while they will only get to the Sweet 16, they'll lose in that area right there of the tournament. They're going to be very dangerous for any higher seeded teams they play against.
Right. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this isn't a team who could go further.
Right.
Because this is one of those teams you can't sleep on.
Right.
They're going to sit there. They'll stick with you the whole game, and if you let them in the game too long, they'll beat you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the next team that we're going to talk about is the Memphis Tigers. Now, Memphis lost early in the SEC tournament, and they kind of fell off towards the end of the season, too. I don't see Memphis making it into the tournament. Watching ESPN, the great Joe Lunardi, he doesn't even have them in the last four in. If Memphis does make the tournament, I'll be surprised. But again, it's also one of those cases where they're not a terrible team. I really don't think that they're a bad team. It's just, if they make it into the tournament, probably Sweet 16 would be where I'd go. Maybe even round of 32, depending on who they are, matched up against. But the Tigers, they just don't have it this year like they have in years past. They'll get a low seed, and if they make it into the tournament, that is. That's just my feeling on them anyway.
I agree with you there. I think Memphis. I originally thought they would be into the tournament. I originally thought probably a second round team.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Not even going to make the tournament this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next team we have here is Connecticut. Connecticut's an interesting team. Historically good basketball school, women's and men's.
Yep.
They're definitely going to be in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to Louisville in the Americans Championship. That's right. It was the first Americans Championship, and Louisville won it, lost by 10. But the last four games, they had a rough stretch. Louisville, Memphis, Cincinnati, and Louisville again. They beat Memphis. They beat Cincinnati, which, let me just note here, Cincinnati is a very tough team. They beat them by 2. But I see UConn getting in somewhere around, I want to say, a 4 to 6 seed.
Right.
Probably a 5 or 6 seed, more than a 4. But
Okay.
I see them getting in there. Probably going to the Sweet 16.
All right, that's fair, definitely. Before I get started on my next team here, I would just like to retract my saying that I don't think Memphis will get into the tournament. Looking down here, actually, reviewing some of their more intricate stats and even their end of the season ranking, they're going to get into the tournament. However, I'm still going to stand by what I said, where they're going to lose out in the Sweet 16, maybe even round of 32, depending on how they play. So I just like to retract that and edit myself there. But the next team that I do want to talk about is the Michigan Wolverines, who are currently playing the Michigan State Spartans right now. And it's not a close game by any means. Michigan State up 50-35 at the time being. That's with 13:05 left in the contest. But anyway, this Wolverines team, again, definitely going to make the tournament. They're in the top 10 end of the season, and they did really well in the Big Ten. Now it's just a question. There are two questions that are on people's minds. One, how well do they do? And two, do they end up with that fourth number 1 seed? Because right now that's in contention. And the Virginia Cavaliers winning the ACC tournament earlier today really puts a damper on that if Michigan can't win the Big Ten tournament.
This is tough for me because Michigan has been they've played well. Don't get me wrong, they've played well. It's been an inconsistent well though. It's like when they're on, but when they're off, they're off.
Yeah.
Virginia has played well all season. Their defense dominates this NCAA league. They can't score very well.
We'll talk about that in a couple minutes.
But I take so much more weight with the ACC because I think the ACC is such a better conference than the Big Ten.
Yeah.
When it comes to their top tier teams, maybe not as a conference overall, but when it comes to their top tier teams, such as Duke, North Carolina, Syracuse fell off a bit, but I still think they're a dangerous team. Virginia, I think winning the ACC would put them above Michigan.
Okay.
If they won that. That being said, Virginia didn't have the greatest of schedules.
No.
So I guess it just depends if Michigan can even come back and win this game.
Yeah.
First of all, or how bad they beat Michigan State if they do come back.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's completely fair. Like you're saying, if Michigan can come back and win this game, I give them the nod for the Big Ten or for the last number 4 seed if they win the Big Ten championship. If they don't, I think that automatically knocks them down to a 2 seed, and I think you're right. Cavaliers take the last 1 seed. I don't see the Wolverines making it through this game though, because it just looks like the Spartans are on a roll, and it doesn't look like they're stopping anytime soon. But you do have another team here for us next. And actually, after this next team, we are going to just take a quick break here from our podcast and get this uploaded. And we're going to come back in a little bit with the next 5 teams.
We're going to take a look at Texas here. And Texas is an interesting team to me. Also, pretty good at basketball when it comes to every year playing. But They finished fourth in the Big 12 this year. Currently unranked. When you look down through their schedule, they only finished 23-10. But I mean, they have some key wins against Kansas, Iowa State, North Carolina. Kansas State and Baylor were both ranked at the time when they beat them. But they also have some losses. Losses to Oklahoma, Texas Tech, BYU. I don't know. I think they're going to sneak in because of those wins, because of Iowa State, because of Kansas, because of the North Carolina. Those are three big wins right there. Because as we know, North Carolina's been streaking lately.
Yeah.
So that does give them some merit, and definitely Iowa State and Kansas. Those are two premier teams of the NCAA.
Especially since Iowa State won the Big 12. I mean, that was a big.
So I definitely see Texas getting into the NCAA tournament there.
Okay. All right, yeah, I think that's completely fair. But we are going to wrap this first section up of our podcast today. It is Selection Sunday, and we are carrying coverage throughout the day on the official Sports Corner podcast. Check back in just a few minutes, maybe 15, 20, and we will begin uploading and posting this. And then a couple, maybe 20 minutes afterwards, we'll start doing our next podcast and get that posted for you. Thank you again for listening to the Sports Corner's official podcast here on our official YouTube channel.